Hi everybody, my name is Gigi. This week I wanted to talk to you about empty nests. It's a real thing for quite a lot of us. I think for the past 30 years we've been known as someone's mother, someone's wife, someone's work colleague. We've always, a mother-in-law. We've always been doing for others, and it gets to the point where maybe we have stopped work completely or we're just working part-time, and then all of a sudden we're ourselves and it's just us, and we're not doing for everybody else, or we're not needed by everyone else. And I think that it can make us quite feel irrelevant and invisible and not have a purpose. Just a little bit of a background. So I have two grown-up daughters, both in their mid to late 30s. The eldest one has two little children, so we have two little grandsons, and my youngest daughter is not having any babies, which is fine. So my eldest is married. My second one has a really, really lovely partner. So when they were in their late teens, early 20s, they moved out, and they moved in together. It was then that John, my husband, and I had the first glimpse of time to ourselves. That was short-lived. I think that lasted for probably about 12 months, and then the girls moved back home, and with them came my eldest now husband. So they stayed at home for probably about 12 months while I was saving up. So yeah, we had a little bit of a time to ourselves, getting used to it, and then they came back again, and then they moved out again, all of them, and then they all came back again. And in that time, we were starting to find it just a little bit difficult, because we had some time to ourselves. We enjoyed having weekends away and, some time up the coast or going to the movies and not having to race home late. And even though they didn't expect us to be home for dinner and things like that, I think that mothering instinct still kicks in, and you just feel like, everyone's going to be home, you should go home and make dinner. And look, that's the way I felt. Whether that's right or not, I'm just telling you how I felt. So I felt that I needed to go home and cook dinner and things like that. So when they did all finally decide to move out, we were really quite joyous. We didn't feel sad. I mean, we did say, oh, bye, we love you and we'll miss you. And then as they drove off, we went, yes, they've gone. Time for us again. And it was really enjoyable. It was lovely having them home, but it was enjoyable when they left again. Also have some really, really close friends that have really felt the loss of their children moving out. And I think they've moved away. And I think once the children have moved away, I think that's when they really, really felt the loss, because they didn't have them to call in and see them all the time, and their lives were really busy. And then they really did feel on their own. I think for them, and one of them in particular, they were always doing, really always doing for everybody, and their lives were on hold. To the point where they didn't have any life. It was just for doing for the family and everything. So now that the kids have gone, they have found the transition really, really difficult. And I can see that it's been really difficult and really hard for them. And I do see that my friend does not have a purpose now, that she doesn't have someone to mind or someone to look after. The University of Melbourne did a survey and found that women in their 40s were the most unhappiest age group anywhere out of all the ages. And it was because they felt like they were like a sandwich group. They weren't real young and carefree, and they weren't older where they had all the time they wanted to themselves, but had ageing parents as well. So they had a lot of people to take care of. They had children that were still at school and going through, those teenage years, which we all know can be quite arduous and quite difficult for them as well as us. So they did find that that was a time when they didn't have any time at all to themselves. So, had marriages that they'd been in for, 10, 15, 20 years as well, and just hard careers, still trying to forge their way through careers plus look after at home. And then the groups of in their 50s and onwards were the most happiest. And that was because some of them did not have parents that were dependent on them. They also, some of them weren't working and did have time to themselves. The kids were off their hands and had left home. And I think that it really is true when I do look back. I do feel that my 40s was the hardest. And I do feel now it's probably the happiest I've felt in such a long, long, long time. So I do say to any 40-year-olds that are listening, hang in there. It does get better, and it does get easier, and it does get more peaceful and tranquil for you. But yeah, there's still a little way to go. But yeah, I think majority of us, when we get to this age, we are glad that we're not back in our 40s and all that, where it was very, very hectic and life was very, very busy. I'm not sure if my way of thinking is the way other people feel about the empty nest and feeling quite happy and not overly sad or lonely that the children have gone. I think for me, so just a little bit about probably why I feel like I do, is that my father was killed in a car accident when I was 12 years old, and my mum was only 41 at the time. There was my brother, who was 7 years older than I, just the two of us. And so mum we were up in Cairns way, so we moved down to Brisbane so mum could be close to her sisters. So mum then had to work, of course, because she was a stay-at-home mum all those years, but now she had to work because Dad was gone. And she brought me up to be very, very independent, very nurturing mother, like really, really nurturing, but very independent as well. Make your own decisions, but let's chat about them first, and let's make sure they're the right decisions, and then you can go off and do what you want to do, and you call me if you need me, and all this sort of stuff. So I was probably brought up to be quite independent, and I think that that's the way I feel about the children going off and doing their own thing. For me, is just a product of my upbringing. It's where I feel that our job is to support them and grow them for all, get them ready for the outside world and then let them go. And I think that's nature, that's part of the deal we have when we have children. We don't own them, we can't hang on to them forever. So for me, I was kind of already prepared that there would be a time when they'd be gone and I would be on my own. I think sometimes we don't prepare. I think we prepare ourselves more for retirement and financial money and all that sort of thing, more than we prepare ourselves emotionally for what's going to come. And some of us don't have hobbies, when we retire, we don't have hobbies and things like that. And I know that I don't have any hobbies. There's things I like doing. I'm not in any clubs or anything like that, but I do love cooking and I do love gardening, and I know they're all things that are very slow living type of things, and there's heaps more that I can go out and do, but I just don't want to yet. I'm more than happy just to sit in my bubble and do those things until I've had enough of those, and then I'll go out into the world and do some other things. Once you get to this age too, I also noticed that, the friendships that I had when the children were at school with other parents, most of those have now gone. I think there's probably 2 that I still see on a reasonably regular basis, but all the rest have dropped off. And I think that's another part of when you're constantly in that that mothering time and in that school group, and you are busy, some of those other friends that you had before that do drop off, and you become friends with this group of friends, but then they drop off as the children leave home, and you are then, it's a bit hard to go back to that first group of friends because they've kind of gone. And I think that that also makes us feel a little bit lonely as well. As far as my friends go, I don't have a lot of friends. I have a handful of really, really, really good friends that I've had forever, since I was really, really young. And they're friends that I keep in contact with all the time. There's nothing, we talk about everything. There's nothing that we don't talk about when we get together. And for me, that's a sign of a really true friendship. Like, it wouldn't matter what was happening in anyone's lives, we'll always pick up that phone and talk to each other, or we'll always meet up for a coffee. And they're the sort of friendships that I think when you do get to this age that you really do need. I think my husband gets a little bit concerned for me that I'm happy just to spend my days cooking and gardening and just pottering around, and I think he feels like I'm a little bit of a hermit at the moment. I'm really enjoying the slow living pace. I will take my time, I'll look at new recipes, I'll make the kids biscuits and cakes and everything for their school lunch boxes and drop them over, and pick the mulberries off their tree and come home and make them all jam. It's just doing things that I enjoy doing that I didn't have time to do before. Something that I've also started doing since I've stopped work, and that's only been recently, is going for a walk. I mean, I've always been the biggest self-procrastinator that there is. I'll say, I'll set my alarm for 5:30 and I'll just keep hitting it until it's like 7 o'clock. I will just procrastinate, and I feel like I'm just missing out on half the morning because I'm not an early morning person. But I have been really doing my best to get up earlier and make the effort to take Malcolm the dog for a walk every day. Some self-care, like I've got a girl that I've been going to for years and years and years, that do facials in my eyebrows and things, and I've been spending more time with her, having some skin treatments and just things that I didn't normally do when I was working because I didn't have the time as well. The thing that's been getting me out of bed of a morning is Mel Robbins' podcast that she did, and that book that she wrote was a 5-second rule, where you count down from 5, and when you get to 0 you just get up and do it. That has really worked for me, and I've been doing that with nearly everything. Like, sometimes I'll go to sit on the lounge and I think, oh, I haven't put the washing out, and then I'll get up and I go and do it. And it's just been surprising how good I feel to get all of my jobs done, and not just procrastinate, which, as I said, I have been a big procrastinator. But I'm really starting to feel, because I've got the time, that I can, if I just get in and do it, then I'm going to have time to do all the other things that I enjoy doing as well. So not only have I started to walk, I have joining our aquatic centre here, which does water aerobics, and I think they do them 2 or 3 times a day, 7 days a week. It's a big gym, so they've got everything there. They do Zumba, and I don't know if they do Zumba anymore, but anyway, they do all that sort of stuff. So I haven't been up to join, but I will. I'm all ready to go, and so I am really looking forward to that, and I could walk there from where we live. Also, a friend of mine is a big girl, and she has a business called Curvy Yoga, and it's just for big girls, so they can go along and not feel uncomfortable, that they're not bending in the middle, or their poses aren't right, or their rolls are popping out of their pants. And I think I really admire her. I think that's the most wonderful thing, and I think it's something that's just so well needed here. So that starts at the end of the month, so I'm going to go along to that, and I'll take you along if you want to come, and you can have a look at it and see what you think. And none of us should feel bad that we're a bit overweight. And even if we are, who cares? Who cares if we have rolls when we sit down, or we can't sit down because our rolls are getting in the way? I think that's where we have to change our way of thinking. I think we are all lovely the way we are, and just worrying about all that our whole lives just seems to be such a waste of time, especially with what time that we have left. I really believe that getting to this age has been the biggest blessing, and we are so, so lucky, because a lot of women haven't. A lot of women have not got to this age. So I think we should enjoy it and embrace it as much as we possibly can. But as far as the yoga goes, I will take you along, and you can have a look, and maybe there's somewhere close to you that you could start yoga or water aerobics or cooking classes and cheese making and all that sort of stuff. And you will meet people there if you don't have anyone to go with, and then they will be friends for a long time. They're probably feeling the same way that you do. So that is going to be something that I am really looking forward to. I don't know all the answers, but what I do know is that this is my first time on the planet also, and I'm just feeling my way as I go along. This is my first time being this age, 66, 67 in a couple of weeks. So I want everyone to feel relevant and not invisible and have a purpose. And I don't think that's something that will happen straight away, but I think if we could work on doing something new every day that we wouldn't normally do, I think that goes a great way to making us feel really happy and fulfilled and with a purpose. I don't want anyone to feel sad and invisible and that they have nothing left, because really we've got probably another 10, 20, 30 years if we're really lucky. And wouldn't it be lovely to finish it knowing that we've had a wonderful, wonderful life and without any regrets? And I think sometimes we do have regrets of the things that we haven't done. So maybe it's time to do those things so we don't have regrets. I also think we should all put on that red lipstick. I wear a red lipstick all the time. I don't believe that you're ever too old to wear a red lipstick. I actually admire women that put on that lipstick. And look, I think a lot of that feeling has come from people saying, oh my God, you know, she looks like mutton done up as lamb. And I've got to tell you, that's just so derogatory and really so uncalled for. I think people should dress how they like. They should do what they like. They should go and enjoy their life. Put your red lipstick on, put your togs on, go to the beach, you know, just enjoy yourself. And I think if we start and do all those things, our mindset will change and we will start and feel really happy. We will start and feel fulfilled. And I think that that's really important. So if you have any ideas or any tips, or you have been without the children at home for a long time and you've got lots of things that you could tell us that would help all of us, I'm sure that everyone would love to hear about it. I know that I would love any comments that you can give. Thank you very much for listening to my video today. I really, really do appreciate that you've stayed right till the end. I would love it if you would subscribe, because that will help me grow my channel. I will talk to you next week. So thank you. Bye.